especially IMSA radio followers. Tonight or this evening, we will discuss about the current event that really affect every corner of the world. Yeah, just last weekend, I checked the cases in North America, especially in US and Canada. There's COVID-19 cases in Canada around 200 and in US around 2000. But recently, like a couple days later, in US become more than 4,000 cases, and in Canada 400. It's become double. So it's been increasing day by day, yeah. And for that reason, like a few days ago, Trump declared a state of emergency. And I know from my friend in San Francisco Bay Area, they already locked down, maybe in other states as well. And in Canada, yesterday, Justin Trudeau closed the border and will refuse all the international travel and permanent resident, and call the Canadians outside to come back to Canada. Maybe gonna do lockdown as well, but in some province in Canada, they already announced a state of emergency as well. So this is really somehow scary also. Before we start this event, I have conversation with Dr. Azaibi. He mentioned it's like alien attack. Is it true that this is a really alien attack? Because so many information about this COVID-19 outside. I watch one entertainment in Indonesia. They invited virologists as well, and the information is like simplified. There is no sense of awareness. Why we as a community in developed country like US and Canada, especially from Indonesian community, we really have to aware which one the correct information, which one the biased information about this COVID-19. Before we start with our discussion with our speaker, I would like to introduce today's of this evening speaker for this really hot topic. His name is Dr. Azaibi Tamin. He is a researcher in microbiology field, and he works at Center for Disease Control, CDC. He lives in Atlanta, Georgia. And interestingly, he's been with CDC. CDC is like the head of any infectious disease in US. Like they study aspect of the disease and how prevent it and how to react nationally in US. So he is the right person to be discussed and to be asked about this. And he has been with CDC since postdoctoral research in 1989. So it's been a long time with CDC, and he's graduated from Oregon State University. His field virology. So we really have a really excellent expertise here to discuss about this current event. And even more interesting, when I read his LinkedIn profile, he is also religious advisor, yeah, religious advisor in Emory University for Muslim religious life scholar, and lead Friday prayer in Emory University. So he's a Muslim scholar as well. That's why maybe tonight we will hear from him in Islamic perspective as well about this current situation. Without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Azaibi. We will hear his presentation, and you can see if you use Zoom, you can see his presentation. And you can also follow radioimsa.org and live stream in Radio IMSA Facebook as well. Let me give this session for Dr. Azaibi. Dr. Azaibi, now your turn.
الآفات وتقديرنا بأنواع الحاجات وتطهرنا بجميع السيئات وترفعنا بعندك درجات وتبلغنا بها أقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات. اللهم إنا أعوذ بك من عمل لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما ربنا زدنا علما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So first of all, I'd like to convey my appreciation and thanks for the invitation to participate in this esteemed group of young people. Not forgetting the old people also. They're being active in the U.S. and Canada, and may Allah bless us in this discussion, and that consider it as a good deed. So I'm going to jump into my what I like to say into particularly four different topics. The first, I will introduce the confusion about the naming, about the virology, and from there you can see, the reason I will share the reason why it is difficult, challenging to make vaccine or to make therapy against this virus or against majority of viruses. And then also discuss about the clinical, about the symptoms and what it means related to what's going on in the body of a patient. And then go into prevention, what we can do as a community to prevent this onslaught of infection of SARS-2. Now, then lastly, I'd like to wrap it up. The last one is how to view this from the Quranic and prophetic tradition, to how to make it much higher relevance from the perspective of what Islam teaching the humanity. I have to have the disqualifier because my English is mixed between the British English, Malaysian English, Oregon, Northwest English, and then now I'm in the South. And also from Java, my origin, so my English is a little bit mixed. So if you don't understand, in the Q&A, ask me for clarification. First of all, let's go to the first slide. First of all, the naming of the. Can I control this slide from my computer? Mas Ibrahim? Is it possible to move the slide? Okay. This is what happened in January 23rd or 24th. This is a picture. A is a picture of a cells. The cell comes from the African kidney cells that we use a lot in virology. An infected cell. That's panel A, and panel B is a sample from the first case of a patient in the U.S. That is a Washington #1, we call it. That is he got sick January 20th. So this virus sample is so B is from his nasal, from the nasal passage of his nose, and then the C is from his from the throat. And that's what happened to the cells after 2 days from we just added his clinical sample into the monolayer, just like beautiful monolayer on the panel A, and become like that. Those cells basically are dead, as simple as that. Now, the panel D in the bottom is a electron microscopy of infected cell from the same source, and you see all the circle. All those actually basically is this is a transmission microscopy. So those are virus particle in the budding out from the membrane. So this is our cell membrane of the cell, and this is a factory where the virus is being made, and then it bud off. So this is a real virus. So single virus like this can infect a single cell, can produce thousands of copies of itself. And next slide, please. So this is in a cartoon way, it's easy to describe this. Let's say the circular structure is a cell. Not all cells can be infected. There are certain cells that has the attachment protein in this case. So the virus, the virus particle will show you the structure much better. In coronavirus, it has this structure like a corona, like a crown, or the corona of the sun. And that one of the protein of the corona, they call it S protein. There are two proteins on the outside, and S protein, the one that bind to the attachment. So step one, and then from this they go. So the virus particle entry into the cytoplasm. So this is your nucleus. So everything, because this is a messenger RNA, basically it's the positive strand genome. So basically, it go without no nucleus involvement, at least as we know. Now, I don't want to get into technical unless there is a question. Now, I can summarize from number one, everything happened here, the assembly, the synthesis, and then finally the release. As a virology, as a Muslim, I see this as there is a verse describing all this, the principle. So the principle is, I forget which verse it is, which chapter, but min kulli shay'in khalaqna zawjayni. Min kulli shay'in khalaqna zawjayni. Everything we created are in pairs. That pairing is the essence of every step of what happened from the virus attachment to the virus release. Now, this reminds me to appreciate the problem of therapy or treatment of in virus infection. As you see, the virus is enter the cell. Bacteria never does this. The bacteria always on the outside. So the bacteria have a different system. So to kill a virus is very easy. It's a quite easy virus to kill. But the problem is, if you kill the virus, don't kill the cell because the virus go into the cell. So the secret, the scientists and the researcher in the science and the medicine try to try to figure out which part of the protein, while it's going on here, is only targeting on the virus. So whatever treatment that you have, whether it is molecular or antibody or enzyme. It had to be targeted. You had to know your target properly, because if you just wrong target, then you kill the cell. So this is part of the challenge why it takes time to develop vaccine against virus, or especially how to design therapy against virus. But that describes the life cycle of the virus. So each virus, one virus go into the cell, just one. It will produce at the end here thousands of this identical copy. And each one of that can do the same thing to the rest of the cell in our body. And this is why it's just like what Dr. Hardy mentioning. It's just like a perfect alien, like a spaceship and mothership. When the spaceship, the Jedi, lock into the mothership, it basically shut down every computer in the mothership. In this case, the virus will shut down every synthesis, every biology in the cell to maintain the cell, because the cell basically like an independent country. It has its own energy, it has its own factory and everything. But when the virus came, the first thing they do is shut down everything. Instead, it reprogram it to produce itself. And that's the definition of virus as a living thing. The only part of the living things of the virus, the trait of living thing for virus is only supra efficient to make babies, identical clones. That's all become it called a living things. Other than that, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't eat. It doesn't run. It doesn't marry. It doesn't everything. It's just a chemical. But it has this capacity to reprogram a very sophisticated cell. So some of you might imagine how what a different size, because the cartoon here is not really representing the size, the ratio. Uh, Coronavirus, let's say genome-wide, the genome size like about 30,000 kilobase. 30,000 kilobase. Human cell has a genome. Each one of our cell have except red blood cell. It has like 3 billion pairs, 3 billion number of nucleotides. In other words, the virus size is a 50 less, 5 log less than the size of a cell. So in other words, if you can imagine Airbus 380, this is the biggest airplane in the world, right? This is the biggest, like right now. Compared to your toy plane, the one that your child has on your hand, compared to the real A380, that ratio is still too big. That's why, basically, for practical purposes, virus is al-ghaib. You cannot see it, al-ghaib, in terms of a certain level of al-ghaib. In order for you to see it, you have to use electron microscope. Any light microscope will never catch it. So that's first. So you have to appreciate this. So it's mind-boggling. A simple chemical can shut down, and only shut down, can control the entire very sophisticated cells. So that's something we will return in the last section, inshallah. The next slide, please. Now, this is what the virus look like. This is not. First of all, I forgot. I apologize. Let's clarify the confusion about names, right? COVID-19, COVID-19, is the name of a disease, coronavirus disease 2019. This is given by WHO. It's a disease. Now, the virus called, the one that caused COVID-19, is SARS coronavirus number 2. So if you say just coronavirus caused COVID-19, that's passing grade, because the problem is there are many coronavirus that doesn't do anything, that is very mild, like a cold, just only cold viruses give you a cold and fever. I myself has experienced OC43. OC43 is a coronavirus that causes common cold generally, but for me, from my experience, a couple of back, you look like flu. You know, have body ache. You lie on the basically you are on your back in your bed for a couple of days. You have fever. You feel lethargic, very tired, and like a flu. But those are OC43. Then you have NL63. There's another coronavirus, and then you have 229E. These are all mild. We say mild is the symptom for a normal human. Whereas the normal is the human is to have a competent immune system. If the human has a compromised immune system, or too old or too young, because their immune system, the too young doesn't develop, too old is already messed up, then you have problem with even cold virus. That's why a flu normally is killing the young child and also the older adult. Now, this virus that you see is the nastiest virus of coronavirus family. It's called MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus. This is discovered in 2012. So this virus, we isolated from a case, the second US case in Florida. Majority of this virus outbreak, MERS, is in Middle East. So this is an electron microscopy. Can you show you the beauty of the like a crown around it? And this virus has 45% fatality. In other words, if it infect for 100 people, 45 people will die. These are normal people. Now, if you have diabetics, and furthermore you have heart issues, then from 90% to 100% fatality. So this is a very nasty virus. And this virus is unfortunately, alhamdulillah, it doesn't efficiently transmit just like SARS number 2. Because if it does, we are in big trouble. And this virus now is limited to Saudi, Jordan, UAE. So I have a collection of like 2,000 viruses from this country. And I show you this picture to remind you and to remind there's a beauty in this virus. It's like a crown. And that's what it looked like. It's a signature that's why they use the electron microscope as a tool to diagnostic. They take the blood or sample, they look at the microscope, and the structure of it, like they say, coronavirus. However, I like to stress very important point. If I look at this virus, look like corona, right? You cannot know whether it is OC43, SARS number 1, SARS number 2, NL63, HQ1, and 229E. Everyone look the same. That's typical of coronavirus. So the only way you can determine which is what, there are two ways. First is by using molecular technique. Now you can type the genome immediately, very quickly. You know exactly what the type. And also secondly, by using serology or by using a specific antibody, it will bind to only specific strain of coronaviruses. So I hope tonight you understand. So coronavirus, there are many coronaviruses. In human, about 6 or so. But the deadly one is SARS number 1, MERS, and now SARS number 2. And MERS, unfortunately, is still going on in Saudi, in the Middle East. It's called endemic. They're not pandemic, it's endemic in that region. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, what the virus do to a cell look like? Now, panel A is when you grow the virus, there are 2 cell lines. E6 or CCL81 is a strain of viral cell. Viral cell come from African green monkey, the kidney cells. This is for many years been used. This cell, you infect the virus, now you can count how much virus you produce. So this particular particular setup, the E6 cell seem to be producing more virus than CCL81. We are using CCL81 when isolate all the viruses. In our hand, they are the same. And but in this group, this is our collaborator. This is a paper published about a week ago. It's our paper from our team. And see, this is the plaque. You see the plaque? You see the dot, like a black dot? What it does is, when the cell look like monolayer, when you infect it, the virus keep on killing the cell as it grow, and then make it lyse cell. So then after 3-4 days, you stain in the particular these 2 days or 3 days, you stain it with in this case neutral rate. It's a dye. So dye will bind on the living cell. So that's why the black dot, the clear area is where the cell normal is really die, and that's what happened in the human body too. So this is under microscope. You see you call it cytopathic effect. They call it what the cell are unhappy. So there are two, and from the in vitro system, this is between E6 and CCL1. You see the phenomena of CP slightly different. So it's so surprising from one human to another human, also sometimes different, because humans are not clones. So that's why even the clinical have differences. So that's the beauty in biology. Next slide, please. Now, this is another way to let's ask us question: what kind of protein is produced in all these different cells? This is basically the SARS, anti-SARS #1, the S protein, the one outside, and the nuclear is the inside. The N protein is the one that wrap around the genome, the RNA. So it's more abundant, and for that. So this is just to see you. This is why the scientific investigation to make sure that you are studying the right virus, the right protein. So this is just a study, try to address first, try to know where we're going. Next slide, please. Now this is very interesting. This is another cell line from our recent publication. There are two cell lines: Vero from African kidney cell, and the green one is called human. Human is a human cell. See what the difference between the African kidney cell produce much more virus, and it maintain. This is 72 hours, and I just like this is when I look at this graph, it's just one graph, right? And there's a lot of work. You should look the timing here. The timing there is every 6 hours. So this is a time that my wife is a widow for a couple of days. Basically, I have to be in the lab in that time, every 6 hours with our team, basically alternate. So I take the evening shift, and she take the during the day shift. So we start at 12 noon. So every time, so I have to sleep one time in my lab, not in my lab, in my office. But so this is, and the reason why I'm trying to show you here is two different cell lines produce different things. One is a continue growing, another one after 66 hours, it's go down. What happened? What happened to this virus? Suddenly go down, and that's called research question, and that's what we're investigating. What's going on? Maybe something interesting there. And then this virus also show the virus that in the cell, and also the virus that is spit out into the media. So the one that is the not solid line is the one that being produced into the spit out, excreted out from the cell. And in both viruses, most of the virus are intact within the cell. Next slide, please. So enough with virology. Next slide, please. Now, some of you have listened to many what you call this, conspiracy theory and all this in social media. Sometimes I get it this from different group, the same slide talk about these are military project and blah blah blah. And in other words, this virus is meant the SARS-2, the cause of COVID-19, is a man-made. Now, this is the Chinese data that I show you. The top one, this is comparing the entire genome of the viruses, all these viruses. Now, the virus that right now causing COVID-19 is here in the middle. There's a human here, right? Now, see how it related to SARS number 1 on the top, right? Now, this is here. This is the MERS virus. This is the genetic relationship between all these viruses. Now, all the black mostly are bats. So what it says is, this is like a typical, not just coronavirus, many viruses, especially RNA viruses, like this. In other words, from one species to another species, and bats are one of the classical, one of the mammals that have so many viruses, so many different kinds, and therefore this virus is typically is clearly from the bats, and it's not engineered. And just for the understanding, if you want to have a bioweapon, you want to have like a bioweapon for, let's say, for military purpose or whatever, RNA virus is a poor choice. It's wasting your time and you're wasting your money. Why? Because it's changing. So basically, the moment that you produce, and after a few cycles of replication, it will change. So it's totally waste of time. So that hope that address the question that the virus is not nobody, whether Chinese or American or Freemason or whatever, made this virus. It's a natural, and then we can discuss that in Q&A or how that happened. Next slide, please. This is another way to look at it. So you see the SARS, the new virus is here, and this is SARS number 1. MERS is on the right side here, right? So therefore, it's interesting. It's a preliminary study in our lab that actually, when you do serology, the antibody from MERS and from SARS number 1 will react to this new virus, but the SARS number 1 is much more brighter, more binding, it neutralizes better than to MERS. It suggests proving this tree. In other words, this new virus is closer to SARS number 1. So the naming actually is, even it's confusing sometimes, but the naming is actually correct, phylogenetically speaking, because it's closer to SARS number 1 rather than closer to MERS. So it's beautiful. And what amazing thing is, I like to show just from to remind me, this is the protein that is binding to the surface of the cell, the S protein. If you look at the SARS-1, MERS, and the new SARS-2, it's pretty different, but it cross-react, cross neutralize, and cross binding. So in other words, this is the beauty of biology. So the whole thing look different at macro level, but you go to epitope wise, epitope is the very minute subset of the structure, are conserved. And maybe perhaps that particular conserved epitope or paratope or whatever it is a very subset of the structure, is conserved between these viruses. Maybe they're critical. Maybe there's good news for the scientists and medicine, try to zero in, because maybe there's a potential for a therapy that can take care of the 3 viruses together. But fortunately, it doesn't. The antibody of the current viruses doesn't cross-react with they call it friendly, quote unquote, friendly coronavirus, like OC43, 229E, and NL63, and HK1, and all that thing. Next slide, please. Now, this is to show you, this is have relevant because this is to study how the virus stability in the air, in the droplets. This is just published, accepted in the New England Journal of Medicine. This is our collaborator from NIH in Montana, because they have a nice lab, bigger lab, BSL4, BSL3, and they have the tool to study. So basically the question is, fundamentally, they're asking the question is this: how long this virus will survive in the air, in the aerosol, on this, and also on the surface, whether the surface is plastic, steel, copper, or cardboard. This is and you see the take-home message is, this is the hours. 96 hours is about what, 4 days? Yeah, 4 days. Just written as plastic. The virus can survive, well, getting less and less and less. So the up to, you can survive in 4 days on the surface of the plastic. But usually what scientists measure is at the middle, the medium, to know. So in other words, the middle is plus and minus. So for lack of time, I go to the next slide. So what happened is the aerosol. This is let's go back to the previous slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to aerosol. The aerosol, you see the aerosol. This is the aerosol is in for MERS. It attached to a droplets, bigger droplets than a virus like measles, or like small like chickenpox. Chickenpox, or particularly measles, go to the finer particle aerosol, so it can travel further. But this, alhamdulillah, this virus, they attach to a bigger particle droplets, so gravity take over, because the bigger the particle cannot withstand in the air. You go back. That's why the virus can only go down about around six feet area. So that's why the reason why the rationale of why people are praying 6 feet away, or people are precaution, don't stand behind less than 6 feet. So this is the rationale. Another the transmission of this virus through aerosol takes 6 feet. But aerosol is a transmission. Aerosol means that you breathe in. But mostly the virus, I think, will get it through the surfaces, because the surface lasts longer, whereas in aerosol it's only about, this is like 3 hours. So in this case, the stability of this virus causing of COVID-19, the stability just like a SARS number 1 in this case. Next slide, please. And next one. This is a summary. Just focus on this on the left panel. So this is the medium in aerosol. It can survive for 2.6 hours, because this is the median value. It can go to 3 hours, it can be less than that. So in other words, for 3 hours, if you are in a 6 feet radius and that person is coughing or sneezing, you will get it. The virus is still in the air for that long time. Now, it's interesting that the different surface of the material have a different efficiency to survive. The best surface to protect it that the virus cannot survive is copper, about 3.3 hours. Whereas cardboard is about 8 hours, and the worst is plastic and steel. And most of our home and our product is a steel or plastic. So in other words, it can survive on the plastic for nearly 6 hours. And this impacts the infection control in hospital. in businesses, in restaurants, and it's a big problem because the virus is quite stable on the surfaces. Next slide, please. So now what is symptom of coronavirus? Coronavirus 19 disease. Usually is a fever, cough, and shortness of breath. This is, but in from the infection to the symptom, it takes 2 to 14 days. They call it incubation period. In other words, during incubation period, you have no symptom. I just finished to part of my research. I'm rushing home just now because I was late because I'm culturing about more than a dozen samples from Washington that it has a lower city value, low like 20s, even 15 is very high, very, very high, a lot of virus. But all these people are asymptomatic, never have any symptom. So again, the incubation period and also asymptomatic is a problem for transmission of the people. That's part of the challenge. Next slide, please. Now, how to prevent this is basically you have to change the behavior of how we deal our. Remember the surface and the air. You have to deal with that. In other words, you have to wash your hand many times. And for Muslim, this is no big deal because you take wudu 5 times a day. But in this season of COVID-19, two things. One, the way we do wudu mostly is not efficient to kill the virus. Why? Because wudu doesn't use soap. So don't get so proud. No, I do wudu step. No, it doesn't, because the virus won't be killed just by wudu water. You have to wash with soap or sanitizer, alcohol, and uh, and and basically you have to control. You have to be conscious about what you touch. And the best advice, the approach is, alhamdulillah. See, I just show you that's a bad way to cough in the middle of COVID. You have to do like that. Uh, so, but I don't have COVID-19, inshallah. So, but anyway, number one can save most efficient way, not effective. Do not touch when you're outside. When you're outside, don't touch your face, particularly your mouth, your ear, your nose, and your eye. This is where the virus is easy because there's a soft membrane. There is a very soft membrane. If you can do that, and then everything, so so this it seems to be easy. No, we have a habit. For example, like uh, touching a face. This is just common. So you have to consciously control that. But when let's say you are itchy to let's say you really want to touch it to touch your face, right? Because it's so itchy, then touch it with the back of your hand, the back, because usually the back of hand doesn't touch stuff, but from the air. So that is not, it's not safe, but it's better than touching with your palm. And of course, there are many viruses that can the same sickness get a got flu shot for that. Protect yourself. The flu shot won't protect against this virus, but if you get flu and you get this virus, then you have a double whammy. So that's bad. So cover your cough and sneeze in tissue when you're sick, and we'll discuss about the face mask later. Next slide, please. So this is where if you ponder for a while what you have been touching, there are so many places you touch, and it's impossible to keep on wiping that. So basically, don't touch your hand. And if you are in the outside, especially you work outside with a lot of people in the market and so on, some people have to work with people. So when you go home, if you normally hug your wife or your husband or your children, don't hug them. Take a shower and laundry everything, and then you hug them afterwards. So that's why, because that's called behavior change. Next slide, please. And this next slide. Let's go. Now, the question is, if I have coughing, or for example, I have a fever, right? Am I going to go to a clinic to get tested? This is an important question. This slide actually is not no more accurate. This is the very important because we are in a pandemic. If you are sick, you have fever, even you are cough, if you have difficulty in breathing. However, you can control with Pro Air, or you take the nebulizer, you can control it. But you can stay at home without life-threatening, right? And the pain is not too much. The advice is stay home, drink a lot of fluid. If you have fever, take Tylenol, take ibuprofen, and so on. The reason is this. Number one, if you want to get tested, don't just go to ER or go to your clinic. No. That's big no. You call your physician first. And the physician will advise you to the ER, to the clinic that do the testing. They have to know that you are coming. Because if you are coming, then they will dress up properly. And they will ask you all the questions. And most probably they will say, if you're not life-threatening, just stay home. The reason is, if you're tested, right, let's say you're positive or negative, this is sound very uncaring, right? If you say you're tested positive, what's the advantage? Because the virus, they have no treatment, no vaccine. Basically, you will never get any other treatment than if you stay home. And if you do not have SARS number 2 when you're sick, when you go to ER and then you have to wait like a couple of hours, you might get the real SARS-2 there. That's a problem. Or vice versa, if you have a SARS number 2, you have a COVID-19, and you go to a clinic, you transfer to other people that do not have a SARS number 2. At the end of the day, the net game is there's no advantage in the treatment per the symptom of the COVID-19. However, if you feel like your pain, there's something else, there are more pain, you have more threatening, your blood pressure go crazy, of course, you go to ER calling them first about that. So that's a, and if they're not clear, ask me in the Q&A, inshallah. Next slide, please. Let's jump that. So I want to go, this is the important part. This is the most important graph. They call it flattening the curve. Why we decided to cancel our Friday prayer. And today, majority, if not all, the Atlanta Masjid cancel the daily prayer in Jama'ah. Why? People say, it's only 2%. Well, why so scared of dying? 2%, you will die 100%. Why so big deal? Why not? Why? I mean, this is not so too scary, right? The problem is, number one, there is no vaccine. Number two, it doesn't have treatment. Number three, the only way we can stop this transmission of this virus is by not grouping. Because alhamdulillah, this virus doesn't have animal or mosquito. It's just human to human. So you know the impact. Let's say this is a well-studied scenario. Let's say, for example, if the US doesn't do anything, just basically like happy-go-lucky, the virus came, right? Happy-go-lucky. This is the prediction. This is the intelligent mathematical modeling. US will have about 100 million to 150 million cases. Just like a Germany chancellor say, 60 to 70% German will be infected. So US is 300 million. So you have easily 200 million people. Now, let's say 10% of 100 million, that's about 10 million people. if they are really sick, US do not have enough ICU bed. It's about less than 1 million. Now, number one consequence is many of these people that are sick, really sick, cannot go to ICU. Directly sick because of this virus infection, right? Now, there are much more bigger people are really sick right now in the ICU from chronic diseases, heart diseases, heart diseases, respiratory diseases, anything other disease chronic, nothing to do with this COVID-19, right? Where are they going to go? And this is the reason why it's important to slow down or if not stop the transmission. And this is the reason why right now in our like New York, is locked down. That's why we don't want to become like Italy, because Italy was happy go lucky. You know, they're European. They don't know how serious it is, and they keep on transmitting. And this is what happened now. That's why it's so miserable. So US have to learn from what happened to Italy. And for that matter, then we have to, despite whatever weaknesses the Chinese government has, it did a good job in that lockdown. I mean, lockdown in 15 million people is not easy, but it does a job. And now Chinese getting less and less report. So this is the reason why we participate. We explain to our community why we have to cancel our Friday prayer, and all program basically cancel, and we just go Zoom program now as a replacement. Next slide, please. Now, so this is remind me, this is the fourth stage, the final stage, how to wrap it up, right? There's a verse that I just want to zero in, because from this verse, we can extrapolate it, how as a Muslim to respond to this virus outbreak. In other words, how to help the humanity. It says, this is the statement of describing who Muhammad SAW was and is in his tradition. We don't send you, Muhammad, come in you, Muhammad, except to the rahmah to all the world. And then the next slide. The next slide, please. And then as from his hadith, for example, in this case, it's la dara wa la dirara. It's the axiom in Islamic law. La dara wa la dirara. Do not cause harm and do not reciprocate harm. So that is prophetic tradition, right? So how as a Muslim to respond to coronavirus or to COVID-19? It's very simple. We have to be under the objective of life. You know, if anything you do, the question, how am I going to do this? How do I do that? You go back to what your life objective, what is the life purpose? The life purpose is explicitly mentioned. You cannot explain another way except to ubudiyah to Allah Ta'ala. Right? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I is Allah, I do not create a jinn and human being except to ubudiyah, to be abd, to be servant, to worship me, Allah. Now, it's from the word abd, to be servant. From then, you have to design the approach according to that theme. In other words, put another way, the way we approach this outbreak, this pandemic, is to have the govern under the shadow of the Quran and the Sunnah. Because that's our identity. So in other words, then the question then becomes, how am I going to respond to this outbreak in the spirit, in the umbrella of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah? Because that's who we are. And now, what we will see, if you do this like this psychologically, with the framework, then you see the beauty, the comprehensiveness of Islam. Let me put it this way. If you able to control, prevent, like washing your hand, eat properly, don't socialize, everything, Let's say you do that, Alhamdulillah. If you just do that, I mean, using a sound science and sound medicine, right? You just do that. Alhamdulillah. But those benefits only good until before your grave, before my grave. What I mean is, whatever we do, the prevention in the absence of La ilaha illallah Rasulullah is only benefit in the world. After that, then nothing, no benefit, right? And this is a waste of time. So how you relate that? What I try to persuade you is how we respond to this pandemic related to other people must be under the backdrop of hablum min Allah. The relationship with other people is hablum min nas. Like, look, and how to do this is we are reminded 17 times a day. 17 times a day. And that is Al-Fatiha. Fatiha is an amazing chapter. So Fatiha can explain it. I'm using to example. So in other words, how are we as a Muslim to walk Sirat al-Mustaqim? That's our word identity, Sirat al-Mustaqim. In this particular outbreak with the context of preventing this disease. Let's look at the Fatiha. First of all, we read Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. First verse, right? First of all, this is a very beautiful verse. A beautiful, if you understand, the prayer is on time. You cannot do it all together. The 5 prayer is a different time. There are many things happen between that prayer time. Something good or something bad. But as a Muslim, we are taught to embrace whatever good, whatever bad is from Allah. For example, let just an example, what the Quranic what Allah says, right? Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut, thumma ilayna turja'un. Everything we create, every soul will taste death. Whether you are a believer or not believer, you will die. Nobody, no scientist deny this. But what scientists deny is the second part, thumma ilayna turja'un. Then, could be 1 second, to be many million of years, you'll come back to us, to Allah. Now, let's say, so we are now in the period of this life, in our journey, is under thumma, like thumma, the word. Now, if you go to another verse, start with the same thing. Kullu nafsun dha'iqatul maut. And then it explains it. It said, وَنَبْلُكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ fitna. And then Allah doesn't use thumma anymore. He said, وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Because thumma already explained. The thumma that we are in now in this life, we indeed will test you with something that you don't like, shar, thing, musibah, calamity, and also ni'mah, khair, also is test. All is fitna, is a test. Wa ilayna turja'un. Then we come back here. So my point is, the way we respond to this outbreak, individually, society-wise, professionally, had to be under the shadow of all this. In other words, what I do in research, what I do to prevent myself and other people, I want a blessing and reward for the year after. In other words, I want is relevant to my account in the day judgment. This virus will go, whether I go first or they go first. That's really, that's the beginning and the end. Just like SARS number 1, it come, it go. Maybe take a longer time, like MERS. MERS still going on for after 6 years. But whatever it is, I want everything we do while responding to this, had to be credited. In other words, Islam, Quran and Sunnah, Islamic perspective teach us to do this like a business. Allah gave this virus as a business proposition and a source of a lot of good deeds. And that's what Islamic perspective is. So when we say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we have to realize what is Alameen. Look at the 3 words important. Alhamdulillah, Rabb, there are 4 letters, four words. Alamin, when I say Alamin, is I am in the Alamin, but coronavirus SARS number 2 also Alamin. So the way I interact with this, my attitude toward this virus, they're just creation. They're creation to Allah Ta'ala. Because everything in this life, as complicated, and nothing more complicated than biology or the astronomy for that matter, but everything can be synthesized into three things. Allah, I mean, in an operational way. Allah, me, and other creation. So in other words, between me and Allah is Habul min Allah. Between me and virus sign number 2 is Habul min Nas, and also the other people. So how I'm going to interact, I have to put it into as an Amal Saleh. And the spirit of Amal Saleh is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the second verse. So what is the sign of Rahman as a Rahma to people? We don't blame people. You don't blame the Chinese. You don't say, because I heard that, okay, Chinese is human being, some bad, some good. They said, oh, this virus is because the Chinese is bad, because they torture, they mistreat, discriminate the Muslim in the West. That's why the virus can go. No, who are we to judge people? So as a good Muslim, then we said, we make dua that Allah make a speedy recovery to everyone who is infected and to be safe from this virus, whether they're Muslim or not. Why? Because we want Allah to bless everyone, not just us. It's just like the virus give a bad news, infect me, make it sick. It's just like people sinning against me. So it's hurtful. But what is the sunnah? Forgive. That's the spirit. That's called rahmah. So rahmah means you sacrifice your own ego for other benefits. And at the end of the day, whether you're Muslim or not Muslim, whether infected or not infected with this particular virus, we are going one way. Malik Yawmiddin. My brother and sister, we are going to Malik Yawmiddin. We will meet the king of the day judgment, not the day judgment. So right now, we are moving to that direction. I don't know where our time will expire. But the essence of that journey, with whatever it is, including the COVID-19 virus, with rahmah. And this is the reason why it's a beautifully, and you go look at the beautiful verses describing a very beautiful people of humanity in Surah Furqan, at the end of Surah Furqan. Is Allah said, Ya ibadur Rahman. Allah can say, Ya ibadallah, right? But he specified.
Dimatikan ke kamera. Videonya dimatikan sama adminnya.
This is so. This is the spirit of the Islam is much wider. So the point is, lastly, I like to mention to summarize it that I put in the metaphor, right? Is Allah is the artist. I'm one of his arts. The virus is one of his arts. And the other people, humanity is his art. The purpose of the art is only one thing, to know the artist. So therefore, this virus, if it is make us closer to Allah Ta'ala, then it's good. However, if it is make us further from Allah Ta'ala, like we blame people, we backbite people, and so on, cause us more further than Allah, that is punishment. Whether you're infected or not infected. So let's close that and open to Q&A, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Azaibi, for the clear and scientific view of your presentation. And it's really usable because from the list of the questions that we receive for this event. Some of them already answered by your presentation.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And I have forgot to mention before that Dr. Azaibi is specialist in SARS and MARV coronavirus. So it's really, it's like brotherhood with this new coronavirus. So I come to decide because we have online participant here and we have some offline questions as well. I let couple questions from the online participants. You can ask directly now, and then we go to offline questions.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum-
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Tamin. Thank you for the host as well, and especially for Dr. Tamin for your time and for doing this. My name is Bari from New Jersey, and I have a couple of questions. And the first one is, so we know there are 3 symptoms: cough, fever, and difficulty of breathing related to COVID-19 illness. My question is, do they develop all at once, or is there an order? Typically, these 3 symptoms are listed: first cough and fever, and then shortness of breath. Is this an order of the timing of development, or maybe not? And the second question is, so you mentioned about that if there's no life-threatening events, then it's probably better for us to just stay at home and then take care of the symptoms. That means that we're going to rely on our immunity, our antibodies. And so then the question becomes, how can I increase my immune level? Is there any advice on that? Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Alhamdulillah. The first question regarding symptom, it varies from one person to another person. Some person cough first, some person have fever, depending on the immune status of the particular patient. And sometimes people come together, or the opposite, totally not symptomatic at all. I mean, and sometimes we have a case yesterday. We have a report that a person have 42 days, they still have virus. Usually the virus stay only 3 weeks the most, 42 days. So that's why. So the symptom is so basically the symptom of in a human being or a host, it depending interplay between the immune system of that particular person and on the virus and also environment. That actually don't go to your second question. So yes, let me clarify about the treatment of this. Let's say you are sick, but you're not life-threatening, right? Whether you're in a hospital, let's say you go to hospital or you stay at home, the treatment is the same. There's no extra treatment. If you have fever in the hospital, they give you a Tylenol or ibuprofen. If you are thirsty, let's say they check your blood, maybe you dehydrated. Of course, you have to pay for those, right? So it's easy to stay at home. Stay at home is that protect. One is, of course, it protect your money. You don't have to spend. You go to hospital, you have to spend money. The treatment is the same. Then you can drink water. They can do Tylenol. Therefore, I encourage every household in this outbreak have a thermometer. Preferably, there are 2 thermometers. And you have a medicine for fever. And the fever, I encourage you to have 2 kind of, one is acetaminophen. The active ingredient is acetaminophen, like a Tylenol, or ibuprofen, like ibuprofen. The reason being, the Tylenol, let's say you have a fever. Tylenol, you can take, let's say, 2 tablets, right, for 6 hours. let's say you have fever, the fever doesn't go down before 6 hours. You cannot take another Tylenol, otherwise you become overdose. So you take the ibuprofen to complement. That's the reason why you need two kind of fever medicine. And the best drink to make you healthy, drink water. Drink plenty of water, and you can take soup. Stay away from caffeine and all. And above all, after the good food and good nourishment of food and drink, you also have happiness, tranquility, good for immune system. This is well-known research. The difference in the Islamic perspective is Islam teach you how to do it. So now, it even sound like joking. Yes, I mean, the virus outbreak make people go home, right? They go people home and doesn't go socialize. Compel people to stay home. And this is a time to have a suluk, like a spiritual retreat. And do your tasbih, tahlil, read Quran, read books, murakabah. If usually they say you do like 500 salawat, make it 3,000, 5,000. That will increase your happiness. You feel content. And therefore, so Islam, the Sunnah, if you follow it, is actually to make the heart tranquil. That's what Quranic is. And so beside taking a good food, good drink, but also you have a good knowledge, good practice, exercise of the body, but you have to exercise of the heart. So the exercise of the heart impact us. So then the advantage then is you do exactly like other people do, like a secular people do. But everything that you do is credited by the angels. It's a good deeds. Can you imagine this? So that's why my recommendation for me and for you is to practice, to practice zikr, your adhkar, taking care of adhkar, good food, good nourishment, and also do spiritual thing. And we have a vast ocean of to do in spiritual practices. And of course, when I say if you do serious thing, you have to have a teacher for this. You don't do it by yourself. So unless it is a well common adhkar. So you have a teacher, and this is a time to do this. At the end of the day, you are talking to the one who created the virus, right? And it give you more sense of meanings and satisfaction. Wallahu alam. I hope that answers your question.
Jazakallah khairan. Yeah. Now I move to offline questions since the online already couple questions. I combine some questions like this is I tried also to find in your presentation, but I couldn't find it. How this virus will survive on clothing or any materials that basically the similar clothes like carpets in mosque or in other public area, or a cousin in chair, clothing. Did you ever explore that in your research, or maybe you have some information about that?
No, we haven't read, but it's safe assumption. Like coin, people always forgot. You go to the shop, you use coin, and you use bill, right? So it's advisable if you can use credit card, use credit card.
Yeah, actually,
So
there is a question also about that, about which
the
one,
money,
coin, money, or
yeah,
credit card. Yeah.
yeah. So it's better to have a card, and that card then you have to treat it like contaminated. So when you treat it contaminated, then you don't kiss it, you don't happy you kiss it, or you spend money. No, that's contaminated stuff. So using money is more messier. Of course, if you want to be safe, the money you have to use. Then where you go to put your money? So you put your wallet, the wallet become contaminated. You put your into your bag, the bag then contaminated. So basically, the viruses. The reason why we cannot test all this, that's why steel we test on plastic, steel and copper, and cardboard, because these are the material common But of course, special the more damp, like the clothing damp. So I think a safe assumption in for a shirt, like depending on the kind of shirt, is it silk or is it there? Certainly for a few hours, it survives. And for carpet, for example, carpet is nasty. This is just based on theory, understanding the structure of carpet, right? Especially the wet carpet. People have wudu, right? People have wudu. And this is why sometimes Muslims don't have any sensibility. They have a nice carpet. You know, when you get to wudu, after your wudu, wipe your feet first. I know it's a sunnah to leave the water there, but if you don't wipe your feet dry, you go to carpet, then the carpet becomes damp. And there are many things, bacteria and virus. So of course, when when the area is a damp and cooler temperature, then the virus will survive more. And this is the reason why we recommend in our masjid, before we canceling the prayer, we pray an individual praying mat. But praying mat alone is not sufficient. You have to know how to fold. You have to know where to touch. If you're using a praying mat, and then you just take it off and then it's just like normal, well, it doesn't really help. So you have to know how to fold systematically, and you do it in like a SOP, standard operating procedure. That means basically, in a describe it in a nutshell, if there is a mat, you go. This is a mat. You go in the end, and then fold it without touching, contaminating what is outside with the inside, and then you fold it again, and then remain like this. So if you does after you smile, you're happy. After you zikr, Alhamdulillah, I did my prayer. You take out the carpet like this at your prayer mat, and then you just you throw in the and then the place where you're facing touching is now on the carpet. So it just doesn't work that way. So yeah, basically you have to treat whatever that people touch, especially cell phone. Cell phone, people, so don't share cell phone. And if you do taxi, you go taxi, all these surfaces, you cannot wipe everywhere. You go to a gym, you can wipe, because gym, like a gym, a CDC, we wipe. You can wipe it out, and after you finish, wipe it for other people. Why? Muhammad Sallallahu will do this. Muhammad Sallallahu will do wipe for other people. And so this is another point that I forgot to mention. If you are sick but not life-threatening, you stay at home, it's to have more barakah to other people. Why? Because other people doesn't get what you have. So that you said you make intention then. You said, Allah, I'm sick, but Alhamdulillah, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, but I'm going to stay home because it's not life-threatening. I know my body is my amana, so I have to protect my body. But it's not life-threatening, because if I go to hospital, either I got become worse or I infect other people. So I'm going to save other people from what I have. And then you extra reward. So you multiple in intention. So this is what you call spirit. In other words, beside doing physically, the heart had to be awake. The heart is always connected to the one who controls everything. That's Allah Ta'ala. And that's what Islamic framework, what taqwa is. Wallahu alam. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Now we go online again, please. One question.
Yes.
If there is no online question, I will go to offline questions. Since more in offline questions. This is a combined question also. Is it possible that people who has already infected by this virus and cured and that can get infected again, like some report from China or from other country mentioned that people has already cured become sick again because of this virus. And also in combination with that question, also how is the person can survive from this virus, and how the immune system fight this virus from the beginning to the end.
Subhanallah. The second question is very complicated.
Yeah, maybe you can simplify that. I mean, connected
So,
between these two questions, like how
yeah.
people after cured and then can infect it, and so that's why how the immune system built. We must understand that there is a memory cells, but how can memory cells cannot recognize again this virus?
So this is the theme of life in life is diversity. Diversity among human. So even though we look the same, but internally our immune system, particularly our immune system, there are two systems that protect us from infection. One is a physical innate including skin, your mucus, and so on. So some people, this is well known in other viruses too. For example, like that's the reason why when you get infected, in theory, when you're infected, what happened? Actually, in order to explain the first question, you have to go to second question first. So let's see what happened in our body in a general way, what our body do to combat this virus, right? And it's a very subhanallah. It's a beautiful immunology, one of those amazing science. And so what it does is, I said, the body skin and all the chemical protect us from the infection. For example, the virus through the skin cannot enter the skin because it's tough. Now, let's say the virus enter through the eye or the mouth, within the nose. Now, what happened? It's a lot of happen. These are the general system called innate. When the big player, for example, like a phagocyte. Phagocyte, basically, that is a cell in our body. These are indiscriminate. In other words, anything foreign, it will bomb you off, like they eat you up, basically. And these are phagocytic cells. And there are many cells like the neutrocyte and so on, circulating our body through our system. Basically, like a ronda the whole body. It amazing, right? That's why sometimes when you have a bite of an insect, it become like swollen. That's when you are swollen. Actually, yeah, you say of course inna lillah. I mean, you got your pain, right? But after inna lillah, you should, as a good adult, alhamdulillah. When you see like a boil, because that means your system is working. In other words, your system is working because there's a lot of infiltration of stuff. Your immune system, the non-specialist. So non-specialist cell like phagocytic, neutrophil, and all this will try to kill this particular foreign body. Now, if they pass through, somehow they go to your cell and go to your blood, right? Then there's another specialist come in. This called as adaptive immune system. It has two branches. I put it this way. One branch is like a hand-to-hand combat. Hand-to-hand combat. They call it cellular system. They are very specialist. They only, but since you are new, like this virus is new, your body take time to learn who are you, and try to wake up the other cell to help. There's a cascade of processes, and each one, as I said in the beginning, everything is expression of ayatullah. Min kulli shay'in khalaq everything based on pairing. And then after that, then you create a like a T cell system that presenting will chew up this virus into pieces, and then it recognize it present it to the antibody. These are antibody cell. I will as a metaphor, it's like a missiles. The antibody cell don't have to move around. It can stay in one place, and it can send antibody and like a missile, and very specific, only for this particular virus. And this takes time. Like say, the moment that it wake up, IgA, IgG, and all this type of antibody. That means the body become, some of them evolve and become memory cell. Let's say the virus is now gone. We call it clear, right? Some people can be infected again because the memory cell, the B cell are poor. They are not, like you have a good military, you have bad military, just like that. So some people, they have a genetic issue, genetic problem, so they cannot process. Sometimes it's not necessarily the B cell or the T cell part of the system, something else, because every part of the body is they're talking to each other. So some enzyme and whatever, this is called some of the genetic disease cannot produce enough antibody. Some people cannot produce antibody. Some people cannot, the T cell doesn't work. And so when this adaptive system doesn't give you like a full protection, then the virus can infect again. Also, let's say a common variety of people, their system is okay, but over time, they call it immunity, wane immunity. In other words, the system becomes sluggish. That's the reason why your child or baby vaccinated with 1 year with measles. Then before school, after 5 years, they vaccinate again. Why? Because it starts to boost up again. By the time it boosts up, it very quickly. That's the way the vaccine works. So so to the answer the first question is yes. There's some people, majority when it's infected, won't get reinfected. Certain number of years, but minority of this our population will get reinfected because of the diversity of the we call it the soundness of the immune system, different from one people to another. And because of this, then that's why there is a rumor. There are some people, I think in China, they do it, and you call it to like say a person have a serious issue with the virus infection in hospital because there's no treatment, right? In theory, those people that is already infected but cured, their antibody have their blood have antibody against this virus. So if you harvest these people blood and then you purify it and make sure the blood is actually corresponding to the they call it fit to the particular patient, you can inject the serum into the patient. It can help. This is called passive transfer antibody to that person. It can save life. There are many viruses do that. RSV, you call it passive transfer. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that there are some people in online who would like to ask question. I let the online audience.
Assalamualaikum Mas Adi, ada question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. My name is Samadhan Jadhav. I'm from Imori.
Yes.
Dr. Ajib, I have a question. Can you please enlighten us a little bit more about the drug development or trials or vaccines, which could be helpful in near future?
The vaccine for this?
Vaccine or drugs?
No,
or
yeah,
treatment?
there are some antiviral on the pipeline. I mean, we have our collaborators in the UNC Chapel Hill did that. Vaccine also, I believe, is ongoing. I think there are, as I heard from yesterday, there is NIH. These are mostly NIH projects. They are, I think, accepting people for trials. But what I tell people is, it takes time. Part of the time to do this is because one is the nature of virus. The nature of the virus is very peculiar because it's specialized. You have to know the system. Secondly, because of the human more advanced. In other words, the advancement we have more regulation. It takes time. You have clinical trial, number one, number two. What I'm trying to say is, because many people have read the history, like Edward Jenner, vaccine, just like that, it become successful. Right now, if you do that, Edward Jenner go to jail. As simple as that. Why? Because sometimes vaccine, if not carefully, for example, a good example like one of the respiratory virus is RSV. RSV vaccine, I think 1960s or late 60s, this is the last century, they use a formalin kill vaccine for people to get excited because there are many vaccines, few vaccines that use formalin. And good clinical trial, 2 or 3 children died. And the impacts of the clinical trial, not just because that virus, that vaccine has failed, is one thing. That's okay, the vaccine doesn't work, it's dangerous. But it impacts people studying the RSV because basically, because the parent, I mean, you have one child, the most important advocate for anything is a committed mother, right? When the mother child die or sick, they will tell the whole world, and those are the most effective. And the consequence of that failure, it's there's no interest. Basically, people scared under RSV vaccine only after a few years back. Now RSV vaccine is getting, it's amazingly, it's not that deadly virus, but now a lot of interest. But the clinical trial is a very highly regulated, and this is the reason why. And I think the scientists, particularly in the medicine, doesn't articulate to the population why it takes time. The vaccine to be in the market. That's the reason why.
There was some drug, probably they from Gilead, they enrolled some patients. I thought if you may be having some more information because you are working in the CDC.
No, I don't have that. Yeah, I'm not consumed with the culture, with the virology. We are consumed with we actually we collaborate with other people.
Okay.
But alhamdulillah, I think the collaboration, at least in the US, is just like the SARS the first SARS. We're just good. We're just good. So I think I'm hopeful there will be antiviral. I won't be surprised. It's just to go to the market. It takes time.
Sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, related to that
sorry.
question.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Good.
this is a great discussion so far. I have a question related to the future of the coronavirus, actually. So I was wondering if the COVID-19 will potentially be just like flu, just like regular flu that we have. Because I feel like based on the symptoms, it's really similar. And I was just wondering, what do you think about like the future of coronavirus and COVID-19 itself?
I think the COVID. It's interesting. Before 2003, before SARS-1, right?
Yeah.
A lot of professors, a lot of scientists, research in the coronavirus. Nobody cares.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody cares. So now it become hot, and so interestingly, I'm involved with 3 different coronavirus. So right now it's very interesting. This coronavirus can go either the example of SARS number 1. That means after 6 months it's gone. Maybe not 6 months, but if this is gone, it takes longer because the rate of infection is more efficient than previous SARS. Even though the fatality is much less, 5 because the SARS one is about 10%. This one like 2%, so it's about less. But it seemed I'll give an example. For SARS-1 to kill about 800 people die, about a couple of 7,000 or so, it takes 6 months. This virus surpassed that number in even like 2 weeks in China. So it suggests it really go like crazy. Now, the hope is that okay, the example is MERS. MERS is difficult. It's now endemic. Now, what is the difference between MERS and Corona SARS number 1? MERS have amplifying agent that close to human. That's camel. SARS number 1 so far we don't know. It's just human.
Mhm.
We don't know. I was showing the data that this virus is related to bats, but it's not bats straight to human. There's something else that, because bats virus cannot go to human straight. Neither human can go to bats. There's something else. It could be, there's still research going on in all over the world. So I hope, because SARS, the SARS number 2 doesn't have a host like camel, like
Mhm.
go to human. Hopefully it become, as long as the key thing I think is if the humanity can work together, basically stop the transmission. Because
Right.
this virus can be controlled. The only thing that is effective, is proven effective, is stopping the transmission and flattening the curve. As long as we do that, the virus dies by itself. The other advantage of this virus is a membrane virus. Membrane virus is pretty easy to kill. For example, like I'm using in the lab 70% ethanol, and depending on where I'm at, if in a BSL-3, I'm using 5% Lysol. Bleach will kill it. The normal house bleach will kill it, and because it's a membrane, so there is uh, there's a blessing in the structure of this virus. But yeah, but this virus can have two, because the cousin is SARS, the one on, and MERS. You can follow which one. But I hope, because it doesn't have that animal in between, it follow the other one, but taking a longer time. All on
Yeah,
us.
so I was wondering because there were a lot of studies, especially in China,
Yeah.
about coronavirus in bat. But then, like, I was wondering because in 2019 there was also one paper, actually review paper about coronavirus in bats. However, I was wondering that the government, especially for instance Chinese government, they didn't sort of like take seriously about the findings from these researchers until the COVID-19,
It's
become the
a,
order.
it's
So
a,
I
it's
was,
a, it's a human behavior. Like as I said, it's facts that many virus COVID in bats and other animals,
uh,
just like flu. But not all of them that cannot infect human. It takes something going on. So and the flu is a good example. If we can, for example, to control flu is quite easy if culturally we're willing to do a very simple thing. Like in China, for example, if they can separate pig industry and waterfowl, don't do
mhm,
it together. Take it out. Don't do either your waterfowl farm or you are pig industry. You don't do together. Why? Because waterfowl, the birds, they are migration birds going on, like
right,
season, and they get all the flu viruses from all over the place, and they go to the birds and waterfowl, and remain there is fine. But the problem is when you're a neighborhood with the pigs. Pigs is God created this particular animal has like an incubator. Basically,
mhm,
it can receive human virus. It can receive from the birds. And then the influenza is amazing because it is segmented, so it can swap just like that. And that's one reason why influenza is keep on evolving, because we don't change. We cannot we're not willing to change. Even communist China cannot stop that kind of farming. So I mean I'm hoping if China can lock down 15 million people, right?
mhm,
I wish they can basically tell the population either you have a pig farm or you have a duck farm, but not both. But somehow, and the same thing with a market, with a live market, right? The vicinity of this thing is, so basically we will continue to have this coronavirus. It's funny that you said that. I said in 2012 when we
mhm,
have this MERS, uh, I was frustrated. I was frustrated with the whole public health in Middle East. So I said in the 2014, one of the worst outbreak. It's still ongoing. But so I said, I told my colleague, I think I have this feeling that we will have another corona coming in, and this still is
Okay.
keep on going. That's it. And now what the scary thought is, and this is just theoretical. I'm not making anything. It's just theoretical. It's
Right.
just speculation. Right? In the Middle East, MERS is still ongoing, despite there's no mass media. There are people killed, and there are many cases. We know that because we have the data. We know there's still now. MERS is deadly. 45% fatality, 35%. If you have a underlying problem, you have to 90% fatality. It's known. It's no argument. But it's very sluggish in the transmission. It's a very limited, very close contact. Now, if this SARS number 2 socialize, quote unquote, with this MERS, and the new virus retain its origin, we have big problem. We have big problem.
That because the timing.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting. Thank you so much for your talk and also explanation. That's really helpful to better understand.
Thank you for joining. Thank you.
And then we have a offline question again before we close this session. Like this is about curative substance that some news said that using ibuprofen will cause aggregation virus more, and then also using high blood pressure drug as well. So how CDC recommendation on this kind of type of drugs? And also another question, that does the virus will not survive in hot weather? Some people already expected summer because they assume the virus will gone by the summer. So can you clarify those questions, please?
I don't think from my, I'm wrong because I'm not clinician. So CDC, I don't think they have a recommendation about the drugs but the best way to know that is because, as I said in the beginning, I've said many times, different people have different reaction. So the best way to do that, you have to go to your primary physician, and you keep on asking whether the ibuprofen does that, and all the blood pressure, because blood pressure need to be it's a chronic, so you have to take it. So if you are that, then I encourage you to really take your precaution, because any drug, there's no such thing like good drug. Every drug has its own repercussion. The only thing is have a consequence. The only thing is how bad it is. So my response will be, go to your primary physician, because they know more about your body, and what chemical, what drug is bad. Sometimes you have alternative. Ibuprofen is a sometimes I also won't be surprised the manufacturer of one ibuprofen from the other one is one is working, one is bad, one is good. So there are some nuances in the production of these drugs and how your body react. For example, like between the original and the copycat, also have some differences. Now, regarding the survival of the virus in summer, because Australia now get it, and they are in hot weather over there. So so it seems to be the virus. As I think it's not, and Saudi has it. Saudi is hot. Saudi has it. Iran has it. So it seems to be this virus is. So the limiting factor is not temperature, unless you're willing to live in an autoclave temperature. I kill my virus before I go. Is in autoclave that will kill everything. But other than that, the factor that the most important, and this is a very still a blessing, that transmission from people to people is the only way it survives, because right now the virus seems to be human to human, and so that's why each one of us as an individual as a family, as community or organization, you have to participate in the. Sometimes it's not easy to do this. For example, like it takes me like a couple of hours to debate, stress why to cancel the Friday prayer. It takes time because it's people being people. But after all night long discussion, I mean, like in Atlanta, for example, 60% of the masjid is canceling the Friday prayer, and we keep on discussing because I to remind people this discussion, as long with respect, honorable, and based on facts, and it will be good. It's a part of it as a Muslim. It's part of good deeds to do this. And alhamdulillah, the last Friday, 60%, but 60% of the mosque doesn't do Friday prayer, and after that, 100% of the mosque doesn't have prayer, this particular prayer. And today, we make out of the 1 week, like nearly 1 week discussion. I mean, never stop. You're using a WhatsApp. Now, majority of the masjid cancel even the daily prayer because we already have a county in Gwinnett. I think they're locked down. I heard, and there are. See what I mentioned. I forgot to mention in the talk is there's a community acquired. This is the thing. This is a very important point to stress. Try to appreciate the challenge here. When the first 12 patients, the first 12 patients in US, we know exactly where they got it. So you can trace exactly how they get it. And from that case, the California gave one, I think husband gave the wife, in Wisconsin, wife gave the husband. So we know exactly. That's under control. So now what we have, when CDC declared community acquired infection cases, it means we don't know where it comes from. And this is a problem. The problem is we don't know outbreak investigation, a small scale in any infectious disease. It is to do that. You have to do a epidemiology contact tracing. But now it's everywhere. So basically, you have to suspect whether we ourselves carry the virus or someone else got the virus. Of course, we have to be humble about this because we don't accuse people. But so what important is when the community certain strategy in the beginning, like say I'm running a free Saturday clinic, for example, I have to make decision last Friday to open the clinic or not because all the clinic we run by volunteers, medical school, graduate school, high school, and beside the physician, right? And we are working under the umbrella of Georgia Volunteer Health Program, part of Public Health Georgia. We only serve uninsured and low income, free totally. And so I have to make decision: is it to close or not to close? The point that make me close, decided to close, and I consult with all the physicians, and they are unanimous because of the community nature of the cases. We don't know. For example, it's recommended by the Public Health of Georgia. They said they have a flyer. They said, ask your patient where they travel, where they come from. They're sick people. I said, that's totally irrelevant in the situation now. So I cannot afford a high school student, my volunteer, to get infected. The moment you talk, if that is a case, you talk for a few minutes to answer the question like where you come from, or what kind of sickness you have, you got it. So I cannot afford to have that. So this is the reason why the community acquired infection is the only way to do this, to stop this by no gathering.
Yeah. And how good we are on that flattening that spread, like the flattening, how good we are now on that.
I think it's good. Part of the, I mean, I'm not going to into politics here, but I have to, it's facts. Part of the problem of facing this outbreak, I've been doing my 6 outbreak. This is the most difficult, not in the science. Science is very honest. Science is very honest. So does the medicine. But the problem with the politician. This is a problem, the challenge now is because of the leadership. And so because leadership, make people, because people listen to the political leaders than to the public health. And now they start to, but alhamdulillah, a lot of the local leadership take courage. They have a courage to do the right thing. For example, like the mayor banned more than 250 people. CDC have the courage after being bombarded, after being tweeted and so on. The leadership have the courage to say, look, 50 people or more banned. I mean, so this is where the leadership it takes. Right now is in the good. I think the U.S. hopefully the way it behave. One of the strength of U.S. and Canada is this: we are local government centric. We don't have to wait for Washington or Ottawa to do that. So, for example, like Georgia governor can declare not only governor for the whole, the governor can do that. The mayor, which is a county level, can do that, and that's what I think is a good. I don't think American culture can tolerate like a China style of lockdown, but if that happened in Italy, but I think if the leadership become, I think, getting more sensible and listening to the sound advice of the public health, the science, and the medical, I think we're on a good track. Because, for example, from the area like school now in Georgia, for example, longer holiday instead of they quicken. We're supposed to break like in a week time. They put in a close now, like the one, and then they prolong the vacation until they are ready. So this is a good. It's a good thing now. And then the religious, the church, the synagogue, the temple, the mosque is doing the same thing. So it takes we call it it's a teamwork. Take a village to work together, because the interesting thing about this virus is it doesn't discriminate. Whether you're Muslim, you're Hindu, you're Christian, it doesn't mean anything. And so it's the only one person know, the only person know who's infected or not, it's only Allah. That's it. So that's why it's an opportunity for us. And at the end of the day, though, having said the bad thing about virus, right? We are talking about the bad thing about how to control it. Let's reflect on, at the end of the day, as I said in the beginning, it is ayat, it's a creation of God. Therefore, just like any other virus in the history of humanity, it get benefits. One of the benefits, always from the scientific perspective, it teach us our body system, our physiology. I usually take to people to say, okay, HIV. HIV is a bad. Is it good? It's a bad. Of course, it's a bad. But if you take HIV, they say it doesn't exist. HIV doesn't exist. Our knowledge of immunology will be 50 years back. So therefore, as any other virus, like this virus now using the same receptor as SARS-1, but I'm sure the biology is a little different, and we already see the behavior is a little different than SARS-1. And so the different will let the scientists, people like me, having fun, tinkering, or what was the different, what similarity, and to figure out. And at the end of the day, say, Subhanallah. So this is what I try to say is there is a hidden blessing in this virus, and one of the thing that is that this musibah, this calamity is relative. What I mean, relative means is when the people infected, is it good or bad? It's bad, of course, it's bad. But to certain people, it sustain the career, it sustain the medical. For example, if you have a good investment in a grocery store, you make a good profit at this time of the year. So see, that is this.
There is a wisdom.
Yeah, there's wisdom.
Blessing in disguise.
There's a blessing in disguise. So in other words, and therefore we have to also extrapolate that spirit of wisdom. Don't judge people by the way they look. You judge people how they're moral based, how they behave. You don't judge people based on even by their action. You have to understand their background, their psychology, because some people, their background act dictate how they behave. So that's why at the end of the day, this virus is a small thing. It makes us complicated human being. We are humbled by its impact. The same way, by the behavior of the people around us, it takes time. Cannot be prejudge people's behavior without knowing where they come from, what their background, who they are, because people behave according. If we are very complicated animals, quote unquote. So, and that's what, in religious sense, we are humble, and that we respect the human as a human. And the more we know about them, the objective is human life is better than any other life. So this is a teaching moment for us to be thankful and to us to pray, to make supplication to all humanity, because the role to stop, have a role like a not Friday prayer, congregation, no daily prayer, stop it, because we try to save people, because this virus not only causes death and misery, it also impact economics. Can you imagine now people having their livelihood depend on a restaurant? Nobody want to buy them. So you have to feel. So the quicker we solve this, so people have their life, go back to normal life. And that's what the intention that we have. So I told people, my community, we do this, we don't do, in other words, yes, in a normal circumstances, we pray Friday prayer, we pray in the masjid to go near to God. So now, using the sophistication Islamic law, by not going to Friday prayer, by not praying, by not praying in masjid, also going to God too, because there is a reason behind it. So in other words, God tried to teach human to be conscious.
Yeah.
And at the end, I will say this as for my personal view, that what this virus has, the way we tend to control them, is exactly describe what taqwa is. What is taqwa? Taqwa means you do anything with consciousness, mindfulness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mindfulness.
Then only you act. That's what taqwa is. Like when the companion asked Umar anhu, what is taqwa? He said, you walk on the thorn, on the sea with a thorn, you lift your jilbab, you lift your top, and walk carefully. Look at it. That's the way. Wash your hand many times. Touch the door. Do you touch the door? Do you touch the that lift button? Have you washed your hand? And
Yeah.
that's what taqwa is. And all this, if you do it mindfully, it's amal saleh. That's why it's a win-win situation for
Yeah.
us. And
Just
and and worse than to worse, you shahid akhirah, right?
yes.
That's
So
confirmed. So don't be panicking, but be mindful doing anything. So let this virus teach us to be mindful and conscious about what we do and what
inshallah.
carrying other people to. Inshallah ta'ala. So whatever is right is from Allah, whatever is mistake and misunderstood, that's from my own self. That's so I thank you so much for joining in and to hosting this. May Allah accept it as good deeds and we got blessed in both worlds. Bismillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Dr. Zaibi. And I received many compliments from your talk today. I'm personally also really pleasant learning this lecture from you. And we would like to invite you later again someday for this session, this similar kind of session.
Inshallah.
Uh, and again, from IMSA, we thank to you for your lecture, for your participation on this really important moment for our community. Inshallah, Barakah. And for audience, yeah, as I mentioned, we might have another session with Dr. Aizabi. So Azabi. So inshallah, we will invite you again. But please remember that IMSA also have so many programs. You can check it out in their website, in their Facebook page, and also this event can go smoothly because of many people involving on organizing it from Radio IMSA crew. Thank you so much for crew Radio IMSA to make this event available for us tonight. And last but not least, also we would like to thank for all the participants in this event tonight. And let's hope, as Dr. Azaibi mentioned, Allah has a purpose for this incident. Allah has a good purpose for us as human to be mindfulness for everything, inshallah. And see you again in the next session with Radio IMSA or with IMSA program. I think that's all for recap tonight. Thank you so much for your participation. See you again. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.